Hi Far West, Shavua Tov, happy Monday. After a brief break for Encampment, Taste of Torah is back with Toldot. This is the second to last video that I'm making. I'll make the next one, and after that, every week will be a different USYer, so stay tuned for that. Okay, let's check in on our characters. So we have Yitzchak, also known as Isaac, the son of Abraham. And when he was 40 years old, he married Rebecca. And she's barren, she can't have kids, and she really, really wants kids, so she prays to God, as one does. And God says, "You will now have two nations in your womb, the USYer, and the older will serve the younger." That's a big deal, because back then, the oldest son got a birthright, which included everything, the family name, the lands. It was a big deal to be the oldest son, and now God's saying, in your case, the younger son is going to serve the older one. So she has twins. The firstborn is Esav, and he's red and hairy, and the secondborn is Yaakov, and Yaakov was born literally holding onto the heel of Esav, almost as if he was trying to push Esav out of the way so that he could be born first and get the birthright. These twins could not be more different. Esav was into hunting in the fields, and he's Yitzchak's favorite son. Yaakov was an Ish Tam Yoshev Ohalim. He's innocent, he likes living in tents, and he's Rivka's favorite son. One day, Esav comes back from hunting, and he is so hungry and so tired, and Yaakov has been cooking some stew. And Esav says, "Oh my gosh, Yaakov, I'm so hungry. I will give you anything if you give me a bowl of stew." And Yaakov says, "Fine, I'll give you stew if you give me your birthright." Esav says, "Deal." And just like that, he's traded away everything he deserves for this bowl of stew. Flash forward a few years later, Yitzchak is very old, and the text describes him as having very dim eyes, which you can interpret in two ways. Either he was old and kind of blind and just couldn't see, or his judgment was clouded by his wife or by his sons, or he just couldn't think straight, or he was trying to think of what would be best for the Jewish people, however you want to interpret it. He says, "Esav, come to me. It's time for your birthright." And he says, "I want you to go out and hunt some foods for me and make them into a tasty meal, and then I'll bless you." Rivka hears this. She's like, "Oh my gosh, no. No way Esav is getting this. My favorite son, Yaakov's going to get the birthright." And it's also possible, by the way, and she's thinking of God's prophecy all those years ago and thinking, it's intended for the USYer. My older son is supposed to serve the younger one. So it doesn't make any sense for Esav to get the birthright. So it's maybe even a self-fulfilling prophecy that God said. So they make a plan. So while Esav was out hunting, Yaakov was hunting too. He finds two sheep, or two animals, and Rivka cooks them into a tasty stew. She gathers Esav's clothing and some goat skins to put on Yaakov's body, because remember that Yaakov is smooth and Esav is hairy, and that Yitzchak can't see, so he judges by touch and by smell. And Yaakov goes to Yitzchak and says, "I am Esav." And Yitzchak goes through a period of testing, trying to figure out who's Yitzchak, who's Yaakov, who's Esav. He says this very iconic line, "Hakol kol Yaakov v'hayadayim midei Esav." The voice is the voice of Yaakov, and the hands are the hands of Esav. But eventually he says, "Okay, I believe that you're Esav," and he blesses him with the birthright. Esav comes back, and they both realize they've been tricked. But it's too late at this point. There's nothing they can do. Esav is devastated, begging, pleading with his father, who has this haunting line, "Barcheni gam ani avi," bless me too, father. But there's nothing they can do. And a part of me, in the back of my mind, wonders if all along Yitzchak knew that it was Yaakov. But again, he had heard God's prophecy. He knew it was supposed to happen. Or maybe he actually thought that even though Esav was his favorite son, Yaakov would be a better leader of his descendants. I don't know, up to interpretation. Esav hates Yaakov, and Rivka tells Yaakov to run to her brother Lavan, to escape his wrath. So a quick idea that I want to jump on. How come the twins were so different? How come one was hairy and liked working in the fields while one was smooth and liked working indoors? How come they each had a different parent's father? You would think that twins born to the same parents, born at the same time, who shared the same uterus, would be so similar, but they weren't. So I think this brings into the idea of nature and nurture, right? How much of who we are comes from our parents, our teachers, our friends, but how much of it are we born with, right? Like how much of the difference between Yaakov and Esav was because their parents had heard the prophecy and decided to take a different child and raise in different ways. But how much of it was that they were just born that way, right? Nature versus nurture, which has the most power here. So that's this idea I want to leave you with. Shavua Tov, and I'll see you next week.